That was the other revelation for me, was sole authority. It's not a group of people that make a decision about a nuclear retaliation or what to do in that event.
You don't have to have Congress.
No, you don't.
Apparently you don't have to have Congress for anything in these days. But
You okay, Sergeant?
Put up Stratcom's audio.
10 seconds. 9. 8.
I said before with the chips.
Hey, we're good, man. I'm a slob.
5.
And to hell with her, shouldn't have left it
4.
like that.
3. 2. 1.
Confirm impact. Confirm impact. Stand by, confirm.
Hold.
Come on, what are you waiting for?
It's negative.
Negative impact.
Object remains inbound.
We did everything right? Right? We did every fucking thing right!
welcome to Behind the Lens. Today, well, she is an Academy Award-winning director and producer with numerous films that I'm sure many of you have seen, from The Hurt Locker to K-19 Widowmaker to Detroit to Zero Dark 30 to Point Break. I could go on and on. This is Kathryn Bigelow, and her latest film, A House of Dynamite, is dynamite, let me tell you.
Thank you.
Welcome to Behind the Lens.
Thank you so much.
I'm so glad you're here, because I think this movie, of all of your movies, and there's a lot to talk about with them and what you've got behind them, but this one I think is your most important film.
Oh, that's so kind of you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Do
Well,
you
certainly
think
the subject is important.
Yeah, I mean, is that something that you think about this film, that you're putting this out here in the world for a reason other than just a movie, you know, being seen?
Absolutely. I mean, that's the motivator. I mean, we're living in a world that is extremely combustible. There's over 12,000 nuclear weapons, and that's if the count is accurate. And 9 nuclear countries, only 3 are members of NATO, so it's a very combustible environment that we live in. And I grew up having to hide under school desks because of in the event of an atomic event.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what they did,
Yeah.
and we believed it.
I know, but who thought of that? I mean, it's so, it's kind of ridiculous. But anyway, having done that and kind of have that imprint, and then cut to several decades later, and all those wonderful, wonderful films about, like I would call them the nuclear genre films, no longer seem to exist, like Failsafe, Strange Love, and On the Beach. I loved On the Beach, and then a few decades later, the day after. But
Testament, another one.
And
too.
Testament, but now it's been sort of quiet. It's almost as if the idea of a nuclear engagement has been normalized, because nobody talks about it.
No.
And so my feeling was to do a movie that would, re-engage the conversation.
Yeah, so how did this come about then? You haven't made a feature since Detroit, which was
Right.
about 7 years ago.
Right.
And were you looking, or was this always in your head that you wanted to do this and just getting it made, or?
No, we were developing quite a few things, and none of them really kind of came into focus, like sharp focus enough to warrant shooting them. And so then this, all of a sudden, I suppose I had the idea of what would happen if a nuclear ICBM was launched toward North America. What would happen in the halls of power? What are the procedures? What how protected are we? How safe are we?
Yeah.
And so I began to ask that question, and actually it was my agent who introduced me to Noah Oppenheim, who's a former journalist and a great screenwriter. And we began talking and, you know, spitballing, throwing these ideas around. And he used to be a journalist, and he actually ran NBC, so he knew, he was like a subject matter expert. He knew a lot about this, and he knew who to ask in the, again, in the halls of power and the chain of command. And so we began a kind of hunt for the story. And he was very fast. I'd say, you know, 2 or 3 months later, he had a script.
Wow.
Yeah, it was ridiculously fast. I know.
That's unbelievable.
I know.
Yeah, but he knows so much. I mean, he did the Today Show as well at NBC.
Yeah.
And, you know.
Yeah.
So I guess he's so plugged in that.
Exactly.
But it's the subject matter. It's the idea of doing it now that makes it maybe write itself.
Yeah.
in a
Well,
weird way.
kind of. And I wanted to do it in real time, which was, you know, which was a challenge. How do you
Yeah.
make an 18-minute movie in real time?
Yeah.
So, but then I thought, what about different perspectives? What about, you know, the boots on the ground to all the way up the chain of command to finally the president? And that's basically how we ended up with the structure.
That's what, when I saw it, because I was like going into movies cold and sort of not knowing anything, especially as a critic, because you can be colored in all kinds of ways
Right.
in this day and age, starting with trailers, which I never watched before.
Really?
I don't
Okay.
like to watch them before.
Yeah.
They give away too much, not like the days of Hitchcock,
Right.
where he would tease it and things. Now they just tell you everything.
Right.
So I went in and I'm going like, oh, wait, okay, so now I'm in the first part, now I'm
Right.
in the second part.
Right.
And so much is revealed that you thought you saw in the first 18 minutes that you didn't. And I thought that was the brilliant thing about this movie, is as it unfolds, it becomes a mystery. It becomes a suspense thriller.
Yeah, well, thank you. It kind of is like, when we were shooting it, we kept saying, well, this is like three-dimensional chess, you know, but you're right, each chapter provides a different lens on the same event.
Yeah.
And it is additive. You're getting more information, even though it's, you know, it's basically the same narrative, but it's not. You've got so much more information. Each time you get more information.
Exactly, and that's also in, you know, tribute to your sound designers and film editor and all of these arts that go into the making of a movie really come into focus here, even if you're not focused on them.
Right.
I mean,
Right. Well, that was the whole point. I mean, and Kirk Baxter, extraordinary.
that's the film editor.
Yeah, the film editor. And I mean, his degree of precision, I think there was some quote somewhere in one of the write-ups on it that it was like cutting a gem. You know, it's like they're just these fine little cuts that are just, anyway, that was handled really, he did a beautiful job.
Yeah, and I thought the sound design too, because we're hearing things from a different perspective
Right.
when we're in, you know, first it's in the Situation Room at the White House. Second, it is at the Strategic Command Center. And then the third is with the president in a helicopter, essentially.
And each time it gets less chaotic. I mean, if you know, when you look at it again, it's like at first there's all these people buzzing around. What's going on? There's an ICBM incoming. And then, you know, there's people talking. And then you get into the Stratcom, which is a lot more focused. And suddenly the sort of the tenor of dialogue begins to get reduced
Right.
and more surgical. And then you finally get to the president. It's just two people on Marine One. And it's very, anyway, it like telescopes down onto the person that is meant to make the decision. That was the other revelation for me, was sole authority. It's not a group of people that make a decision about a nuclear retaliation or
Right.
what to do in that
You don't have to
event.
have Congress.
No, you don't.
Apparently you don't have to have Congress for anything these days, but
but so then you get this man who's got, or in this case, this man who's got 2 minutes to make a decision that's almost more complex than the human brain can accommodate, and you know, it's almost an impossible situation, and I can't believe that is the way that's the system that we have. That's what we live with right now.
even more than that, Idris Elba wonderfully plays the president here, is how he's saying, really? Okay, he's listening to his aide telling him, these are your options, this is what it is, and it's like the first time he's heard it. I mean, it's like there's no rehearsal for this.
Well, that was another thing that Noah and I discovered. We were talking to the former chief of staff for the Pentagon, and we said, so how often do you practice a nuclear protocol? And he said, almost never. We're too busy with everything else. Whereas when I went to Stratcom and asked that question, they practice it over 400 times a year.
Which is like incredible.
It's incredible. So the paradox of that, I'm still baffled by. Wouldn't you think the president who has to make the ultimate decision would be the most practiced and rehearsed?
Yeah, and in that 18 minutes, it's
Yeah.
all that he doesn't even have that much.
He doesn't even have that much by the time it got, because
Yeah.
he was obviously occupied with other things when the event happened. But that's why I wanted to do it in real time. I wanted the audience to understand how short 18 minutes is. That's all you have to work with.
Now, I don't want to give away too much for those who haven't seen it, because it's quite inventive in how it resolves itself or doesn't. There's ambiguity in what you have here. As opposed to, like you were mentioning, movies like Failsafe, On the Beach, Dr. Strangelove, they all ended in annihilation, basically.
Yes.
What was your thinking here in ultimately leaving people finishing watching it and where they're at, after they've seen it?
Well, really the thinking was how to encourage a conversation. And, by having, I know it's a bit of a spoiler, but by having like a detonation at the end, then you are basically ending the conversation. There's no conversation. It's like, oh, okay, that happened. And in the case of Noah and I, my conversation is to keep it open, keep it live, keep you thinking, what would you do?
Right.
What would you, if you were in the position of the president, what would you do? And here are all the parameters, here's what you have to work with. And so thereby, hopefully, encouraging a conversation. I mean, obviously, my choice would be to reduce the nuclear stockpile and not be in this position in the first place. But since this is what we have, this is the hand we're dealt, it's a really combustible, we live in a house of dynamite. And my question is how to get the dynamite out of the walls. So first you got to talk about it.
Yeah, exactly. And we live in a time now where they're rattling the nuclear thing again. And I think that's what you were referring to, that sort of stopped, and Hollywood stopped paying attention to.
Yeah.
And, there was a time where we were living like on the edge. Particularly in '62, the Cuban Missile Crisis.
We were both under our desk. And
or anything. And now, it can take one crazy guy out there and all of that. So how do we stop it? That's the conversation.
That's the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's I would call it a call to action. That we have to have that conversation. We have to take that conversation into the halls of power and there are people who would like to reduce the nuclear stockpile and, engage them.
We got to find them.
Got to find them, activate them.
Is this going to be shown? This should be shown at the White House. They got a screening room.
I think it will be in the next couple of weeks.
Really?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good news.
Not the White House, I'm sorry, in Congress.
Oh, Congress.
Yeah.
If they come back, yeah.
If and when they come back.
Right. While we're taping this,
Yeah.
they're still not back there.
Right.
But they need to see this, first of all.
It would be helpful, could be helpful.
Yeah, this needs to be seen in Washington and everywhere. It's a cast of, I was talking to your casting director, the biggest thing she's ever worked on in her career, 113 speaking roles, and all of these actors moving in and out, and just the logistics of shooting this. How challenging was it for you as a director just to do this?
Well, schedule was tricky because everybody kind of had to be available, meaning we shot it all simultaneous except for some of the material with the president. But we had sets and we had a stage. We had our primary set like Stratcom, and then you have the teleconference on the wall. But all the people that they're speaking to in the teleconference are actually located on sets throughout the stage. So they're live. It's like a theater piece. So it's complicated to have organized everybody's schedule along those lines. That
Oh,
was
wow.
that was
To have
challenging.
them all there
Yeah,
at
they were
once.
all there.
Which is kind of ingenious for an actor.
Right.
So they're not working against a green screen the
Right,
whole time.
right.
Yeah.
And then you're not putting the green screen up there. So when Tracy Letts is talking to Jared Harris, he's talking to Jared Harris.
Yeah.
And there's something about that we thought was very important.
How did you come up with that idea to do it like that? That is like a theater thing, you know. I mean, it does sound like a nightmare for agents to get.
Actually, for a first AD.
First AD,
yeah.
too.
But he was amazing. We had a man named Simon Warnock who's extraordinary. But no, I couldn't imagine doing it any other way.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't want to lay it in post, and there then Tracy will be talking to a green screen.
Yeah.
You know, it's about communication, and communication quickly, you know, being able to convey your thoughts, your desires, your fears immediately.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. There are certain moments that are just like shock you, you know, and it happens so fast within it, you know, I don't want to give them all away. But really, you're doing this like Hitchcock in a lot of ways. I'm going to use that name.
Thank you.
Because it plays that way to me. I think he'd appreciate this movie, actually, for a lot of reasons.
That would be incredible.
Yeah.
He's a hero.
Oh, yeah. You know, when you look at this, you know, I mean, they said you were the first female to win, which is true, you know, a director Oscar. But you've never played your career that way, ever. You know, I don't think you acknowledged it in your acceptance speech that night. You know, Barbra Streisand did in presenting it to
Yeah.
you, but you didn't. And you're a director, you know, and that I think you've always played it that way, right? That's important to you.
It's what is most important to me.
Yeah.
I never thought about it in those terms. I guess I never thought that was possible, you know, and I just kind of kept my head down, did the films I felt were important to make, and that was my focus exclusively.
Yeah. You started, actually, with a short called The Setup that was really sort of examining violence in movies.
Yeah.
I mean, right from the beginning, you were sort of like, what's this about beyond entertainment?
Yeah, and also, why are we so interested in watching something that's violent? You know, what is the vicarious thrill? You know, how does that work? And I was lucky enough. I was going to school at Columbia at the time. Had extraordinary teachers who spoke about that process of identifying with a particular character. And anyway, it was very heady time, but also exciting. But then I wasn't that interested in a narrative. It was really a non-narrative kind of philosophical.
Yeah, it was like a short.
Yeah.
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 But you encourage your two actors
Yeah.
to really get violent.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know that there were stunt people. I mean, this, you know, it was 26 minutes long, and I had no idea. So it was. But they were wonderful. They were game, excited to try. I mean, it was actually quite playful.
And you've obviously, many of your movies have been, you know, scenes of great violence in them. People talk about that, you know. Detroit, thinking your last feature film here was devastating to watch.
Right.
You know.
I mean, and all that's true.
And that's why, you know,
Yeah.
it's you're not shying away from the facts here, but you're putting it on screen, not afraid to.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like 50 years had transpired since that event, and it's about time to, you know, dig into it.
Yeah.
And like this, again, a long time has transpired since we have been focused on nuclear, you know, a nuclear engagement, the potential for a nuclear engagement.
Yeah.
So, you know, time is now.
What I thought was interesting about you too is you really put yourself out there in the middle of the action. Point Break, you're basically almost diving out of the plane with him.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I had a parachute on because when you're in a jump plane, legally you have to have a parachute on. But I was strapped into the plane, so if anything happened to the plane, I was on the plane.
Oh no.
But yeah, you're clipped in, and yeah, but they, you know, Patrick jumped for real, and I was going to photograph it.
And so you're up there, you know.
Yeah, the side of the plane is open, I'm leaning out and he
Wow.
went backwards out,
And you've done that in a few movies where you're like, right there with the camera. That's like kind of in your face direction. I'll use Hitchcock again. He famously used to sit in his trailer. It said, because he had it all storyboarded and
Right.
let it go.
Right. No, I like to be there.
Yeah.
I want to be there. I want to see it. I want to experience it. And yeah, I was almost a little sad that the monitors, came into being. I mean, I started out, having to stand right next to the DP,
Right.
and look down the line, look exactly on where he or she was filming.
Yeah.
But then the monitors came in and I could be 10 feet away. And it's,
But does that make a big difference, though, from the original way it was done with directors? or-
well, interesting. I think it distances you somewhat, but because I had done a couple of films right there next to the cinematographer, I was able to recalibrate, but I don't know. There's nothing like being right there in the middle of it.
Yeah. Well, that's it. I mean, the old days, you look at these great directors. They're in the middle of an ice flow with,
Yeah.
Lillian Gish.
Yeah. Yeah.
Way down east. Every time I look at that movie, I go like,
How did they do
how
that?
did they do that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Now it's CGI, and you can say anyways.
Yeah.
They did it for real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's extraordinary.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great lesson in in real gutsy filmmaking.
Well, I'm just happy I was, shooting at a time when it was also immediate and physical and proximate.
Yeah.
I think if I started in now, it would feel sort of, that distanciation was maybe too safe.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's too easy to be back there and say, well, no, you've got to do that and that. No, you have to smell it.
Are you still excited by it, by filmmaking?
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. But it has to be a piece that means something to me. I have to be passionate about it.
That's why it took 7 years to
Yeah,
get,
to
it takes a
find-
while.
It takes a while, and then to put it all together. But yeah, I mean, if I'm passionate about it, it's just there's nothing like that.
Yeah.
At least for me. I mean, I think everybody has their process, but that's sort of my process.
I mentioned this to you when I was talking to you the other day about people are saying this is sort of a trilogy, a triptych, starting with The Hurt Locker and then Zero Dark 30 and now House of Dynamite, which sort of fits in to that. I would say it's a quartet, though, because I think it goes back to
Yeah.
K-19 Widowmaker, really,
Yeah, I think you're right.
if we're going to
Yeah.
talk about this.
Well, that's where I kind of first re-examined the whole nuclear question, and I got to know Senator Sam Nunn, who developed an organization called Nuclear Threat Initiative, and I got to know him, his partner Senator Lugar, and their mission, and they're he's very determined to initiate non-proliferation. I mean, but which seems the opposite seems to be happening. The amount of weapons that, let's say, various countries are developing
Yeah.
is so terrifying. But you're right. I sort of see it as an ad hoc trilogy. I mean, they're all sort of national security based or adjacent, and in this case, obviously, there's nuclear, whereas Hurt Locker, Zero Dark 30, not nuclear, but nonetheless, a military-industrial complex with fully kind of fleshed out characters that have vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
And they're really human. Like Jeremy Renner is somebody who loves to disarm bombs.
Right.
What you and I would run from. I'd
Yeah.
be like, no, I don't think so.
I
But
know.
he would go toward it, and the Maya character in Zero Dark 30, who was just just so focused on finding this one individual, and why it might have taken 10 years. I think you have a better understanding of that after that movie, and then this film, and the kind of human, what's at stake from a human level. What's at stake? Well, all of humanity. That's all.
Yeah, just that.
I mean, but not just humanity. It's like those you know, like you go to Africa, these beautiful animals, all of them, they have nothing to do with this.
Yeah.
They don't care that there's an altercation between India and Pakistan, for
Right.
instance.
Yeah.
And yet they may be collateral damage in that. That kind of thing terrifies me.
It should terrify everybody. I mean, you know, it's just, I remember you did show me a note you got from someone involved in the START Treaty.
Yeah.
Now that's taking movies and taking it to another level to have reaction like that. When you get that kind of reaction, what do you think?
Oh, I think it's, I mean, that's sort of what you dream of.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, I mean, he is going to be part of the renegotiation in February, and he saw the movie twice.
Wow.
And his takeaway was, you know, what can we do to change this? What can we do? And now he's a member of the renegotiation committee. So for him to be moved to ask that question, I don't know, I don't know, that may be the holy grail of filmmaking for me, anyway.
That's it, better than an Oscar?
I would say. I mean, if we could reduce the nuclear stockpile,
Yeah,
I don't know,
that definitely. Well,
that's up there.
what are you going to do next? What are you looking for?
I'm looking for something, but I'm not sure yet,
Ah,
you know?
okay.
It's going to be a while before I check all those boxes.
Yeah, but you're still going to check them, and that's what we like to hear.
Oh, thank you.
Kathryn Bigelow, thank you for joining us on Behind the Lens.
Thank you so much.
Thank
I
you.
really appreciate it.